Hey, what's going on, you guys? What you're about to watch is my speech from the 258 Collective Mastermind in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, that took place about a week ago. And it was run by my friend Dorian. Shout out to Dorian for not only putting on an incredible event, getting a bunch of incredible people together, but also having one of the best lineups of guest speakers that I've, not to toot my own horn or anything, but had the privilege of being in attendance for, and ultimately this time speaking with. We had myself, Joshua Bisset on personal branding, Isaac Davis on overall business structure, Jeff McPherson on AI, or how to actually implement AI instead of the goy slop that we're getting on AI on social media these days. And then Scott Kelly talked about ads too. So overall, incredible event. I hope that you guys enjoy the speech. If you're a founder or a high performer and you're struggling with some of the stuff that I talked about inside of it, then feel free to book a call down below, and I'll be happy to hopefully help you walk through some of the things that are holding you back mentally instead of in the strategies inside of your business. But yeah, without further ado, hope you guys enjoy.
We're gonna jump right into it. So again, appreciate you guys all coming out. Tristan's gonna take it off.
My name is Tristan. I run a program called Becoming Superhuman. Essentially, I help founders not with their mindset. It's 100% mental reprogramming and everything that happens kind of in the backside of your brain and nothing that happens in the prefrontal cortex. So I'm not here to talk about fucking mindset. I'm here to talk about how to program essentially the parts of your brain that are actually dictating everything that you do inside of your life and inside of your business, inside of your relationships and everything. So I want to start off by asking the room a question. Who here believes that they have a strong mindset? That was really hesitant from a lot of fucking people. You don't have to raise your hand. You can be a little bit iffy. Okay. Who here has done any internal work or deep work to understand themselves better? Could be shadow work, could be inner child work, to essentially understand who they are as an individual in a deeper way. Really? Okay, fantastic. That was way more hands than I expected. So, what I'm here to talk to you guys today obviously is about business, because that's what we're all here for. And I know that your goal is to get to $100,000 a month, $500,000 a month, $1 million a month. But you are significantly under-leveraged if you aren't doing the things that I'm going to explain over the course of this presentation. And it's not because of the structure of your business whatsoever, the employees you hire, the ads you run, anything like that. And it has everything to do, but it's because you have neglected to understand that the one thing that dictates every single possible action that you will ever take inside of your business for the rest of time is your mind. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is a quote from Carl Jung. Has anybody ever heard it before?
Yep.
Fantastic quote, one of my favorite. This clicker's bugging, man. Where do you want me to click here? Okay, there we go. Now, in order to show you guys the power of the mind, I want to tell you guys two separate stories. So in 2014, Harvard ran a study. They took two groups of people who were suffering from severe migraines and tested the effectiveness of two different types of relief drugs. Group A was given Maxalt. So Maxalt is a prescription trypsin medication used for the acute treatment of migraines, headaches, with or without an aura. What it does is it increases the serotonin levels inside of your brain to constrict dilated blood vessels and relieve the symptoms. But the catch was that they were told that the drug wasn't effective. They were given a negative narrative about the drug, even though it was the actual thing that could cure their symptoms. Now, Group B, to be clear, was told that they were also being given the same drug. But they were also told that the drug is highly effective, not effective. They were provided with a positive narrative. Now, the drug they were actually given was a mystery to them as it is to you, right? They were given this mystery drug. The test went according to plan. The participants experienced migraines as they usually did, and they took their respective pills, and then they observed the results. Switch it. Okay, cool. To the massive surprise of the medical community, Group A and Group B achieved the same results and the same effectiveness based on both drugs that they were provided. Did I just stand over there? Fuck! There we go. What could Group B possibly have been given for the medical community to be so baffled? Can anybody tell me?
Placebo.
Placebo. There we go. They were provided sugar pills. I'm clicking this fucking 4 times. There we go. Again. Now, story number 2. All right, I'm just gonna end over there.
AV guy sucks, my bad.
No, you're good. Story number 2. So in 2007, a Mississippi man named Derek Adams was participating in a drug trial. Unfortunately, at the time, he was suffering from depression and deep emotional distress because he went through a breakup. After a painful argument with that ex-girlfriend, he went into a sudden wave of despair and hopelessness and swallowed 29 pills from the drug in order to attempt to take his own life. He immediately regretted the decision, thankfully, and tried to reverse it. But was it too late? He had already swallowed 29 pills from the trial. So he called an ambulance, rushed himself to the ER, and his vitals were brutal. If you know anything about human vitals, he had a blood pressure of 80/40, which is fucked, and he had a heart rate of 110 beats per minute. For all intents and purposes, Derek was having an overdose. Now, doctors at the hospital got in touch with the lead doctor of the drug trial, and he brought Derek life-saving news. He was in the control group of the trial, and he had taken nothing but sugar pills. Within 15 minutes, his vitals were 100% back to normal. As we can see from both of the examples here, the mind and the stories that we tell ourselves do not just affect how we feel internally, they literally affect everything. They do this through positive narratives and subconscious programming. And if it can do that with the positive stories that we tell ourselves, can anybody tell me what it can also do? And what it actually does more often?
Negative.
The negative stories we tell ourselves. And arguably the negative stories we don't even know that we tell ourselves. Negative stories and negative patterns. Now, nobody in this room is swallowing sugar pills in a clinical drug trial, obviously, but every single one of you is running narratives that are producing serious consequences and real consequences inside of your business. You cannot see them because, unlike Derek, nobody is going to walk in and tell you the fucking truth that they are happening and about what you have been telling yourself. So I want to explore what that actually looks like for you on a regular basis as a business owner. Example number 1. So we have the competitor. And if at any point, I'm gonna ask you at the end, if you've experienced this, that would be super helpful if you say that yes, I have. So a competitor will post a win, launch a new product, maybe something that you've been also thinking about doing, or even post up a client testimonial. Something in your chest when you see this, you see it on Instagram, tightens. You know, it's like a feeling in your stomach, a feeling in your heart. And now the offer that you've been running and that you are 110% convicted about suddenly doesn't have the same type of internal feel. It feels weaker. Your positioning is different. So you question your authority, you question your product, and you question your positioning. Now that is not you staying sharp, that is your nervous system registering somebody else winning as a threat to your survival and your business success. A secure mind does not flinch at that, but yours does. That is a program firing inside of your mind. Now, I want to ask you, if this happens, does that reduce the validity of your product, your program, or the results that you've gotten for a bunch of different people?
No.
Absolutely not. So why do you question the authority, the positioning, and the product that you have? It makes no sense, right? Because we seek out negative things, and we're telling ourselves a negative story. Example number 2, you hit your revenue goal, 50K, 100K, 250K a month. Who here is above that metric?
No.
Give or take? Who here is within the realm of those? Who here is below it? Who here has achieved a revenue goal they set their mind to at some point? Fantastic. When you hit this revenue goal, how many of you felt not really anything? It was kind of just another day. And then you strive for more, right? You pull back. You stop doing the things that got you there and you cannot explain why that happens. You tell yourself that it's complacency or some other bullshit reason, but none of that is true. The ceiling that you have was never in the market or inside of your business, the way that you structure your business, your employees, your ads, it's none of that shit. It's inside of you. You hit the amount that your subconscious has decided you are allowed to have, and it pulled you back to the safety of it. You did not run out of your ability or capacity, you ran into your own program. Example number 3, the price. This is a fucking big one for a lot of people. You know your offer is really fucking good. You watch people with worse products and fulfillment charge double. I know you immediately had somebody in mind when I said that. How many of you had somebody in mind? Raise your hand. 2 hands up. Scott, can you kind of tell us how that feels to kind of like know that?
Shady.
Shady?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to say who it is or no?
Nah.
No? Okay. I want to ask. Every single time you go to raise your prices, something stops you from doing it. And you can't explain what it is. It's not a factor of your business or your pricing. It is a factor of your self-worth and self-belief. Does that make sense? The number you will charge is a readout of what you believe you are worth, not inside of your business and what your business is worth, what you internally are worth. And somebody else set that number for you a very long time ago. Literally could be anybody, parent, teacher, anything, and it's not at all related to business. Example 4, did I skip one or no? No. Being seen. You know content drives the business, right? We all know that. I mean, Josh is going to talk about personal branding. How many of us post content? Does anybody not post content? Do you want to post content?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Do you know that you should post content?
For sure.
Okay. So you know you should post more or even post at all and you're not yet. And then speak with Josh for that. But you keep finding reasons not to do it. And you call it being busy or not having the time to do it. That's fucking bullshit. Being seen opens the door to being judged. And somewhere in your wiring, being judged and being open was tagged as dangerous. So your brain protects you from the one thing that would actually grow the business the fastest, if the implication of that would be, posting content will grow my business. You're not fucking lazy. You are being protected from a threat that doesn't exist. Now, I want to give you my example. So this is how I knew I was fucked until I fixed it. So when I was 13 years old, I played a lot of soccer or football for the people from the UK, and I took it very seriously. I have a European father. And I was traveling a lot, went to the UK, went to France, so I was in my own right when I was 12 or 13 a successful soccer player. Eventually I joined a team where the best player in the province, which is a state here in Canada, was a part of that team. And at the time I already had like a little bit of self-confidence issues, like self-belief wasn't all the way there. But one day we had a practice, I remember exactly where it was vividly. Somebody held up a mirror and like showed me that shit, it was kind of crazy. Vividly, we're in the Ben Franklin Dome in Ottawa, Ontario in Nepean. It was like 6 p.m. for a practice, and I was dribbling through a couple of my teammates, or at least attempting to. I lost the ball to the best player on the team, the best player in the province. And I would love to open up the floor to anybody guessing what he said when he took the ball from me.
Fucking suck.
Wasn't as visceral as that, but it felt like that. Anybody else? No guesses?
That's shit.
He basically said, "Why are you even trying?" Didn't feel very good. So I turned this into a safety mechanism for not giving my 100%. And again, I was 13 years old, and I only discovered this a year and a half ago. Maybe not even, maybe a year ago. So that's, 12 years of being fucked by the one thing that happened to me when I was 13. How did this manifest itself in my daily life afterwards? Well, I played a lot of intramural soccer afterwards, in university. I got a degree, I wasn't the online money guy early on. I worked in corporate for 2.5 years in the government, which was ass. So to all you guys who left, I never went to school, good for you. But I played intramural soccer. I went to school, went to university, and I never gave it my 100%. I always kind of gave about 75% effort because I could get by being average and not put myself in a position of vulnerability where if I tried my best and I failed, people would judge me. So if I tried 75% and I got let's say a 75% grade, or I lost the ball in an intramural soccer game with people that were definitely not as good as I am, I could just say, it's not that serious. Why are you trying so hard? I didn't give my 100%, so obviously I'm not gonna, be my best or whatever. It was a defense mechanism. And what it did was actually lead to a split identity. I was the picture of confidence externally. I could talk to women, I had a lot of friends, I was a social butterfly in high school, but internally I was so fucked up. I had so many limiting beliefs, so much self-belief problems, and I had a lot of acne growing up too, so that was a whole thing. And I was just fractured. I was not authentic with anyone. Can anybody relate to that at all? Kind of putting on a mask for every single person you ever talked to? So, I got over it, but that's how I realized I was really fucked up, and that it was super important for me to get over it. Now, those are just 4, plus mine, of course, of a possible 100, 150, 200 odd examples I could give you about how your brain prevents you from doing the shit that you know you need to do inside of your business. It's disguised as procrastination, overcomplication, and other strategies of avoidance. Can anybody give me an example of a strategy of avoidance they do inside of their business that isn't one of those? All you guys are perfect and you do everything you need to do.
No.
So, give me an example.
I procrastinate making ads
Okay.
Yep.
Do you ever spend time with people or like go out on a weekend when you know you might need to do something?
Yep.
Pattern of avoidance. Fact of the matter is, none of it is your fault, right? You're not sitting here making these conscious decisions, like obviously, because you know you want to achieve a goal, you know you want to do some shit, and you know you want to grow. Like you're not consciously making those choices, it's not your fault. The pattern was created against your will before you even knew what a fucking KPI or a show rate was. Well before that. Well before it. So, from birth to around age 7, your brain runs predominantly in one state. It's called theta state. It's the exact same brainwave state that a hypnotist will put somebody into on purpose to access their subconscious mind and alter their behavior. Which means for the first 7 years of your life, you are basically walking around in a walking trance, right? Everything is happening to you. You kind of don't have any perception of the world other than what your parents tell you. You're just kind of like absorbing a bunch of different shit. It's actually very interesting as well that the human infant is the most vulnerable of any other infant mammal on the earth. So we don't have instincts that keep us safe in the way that like, you know, a cow would be born and it kind of just knows to eat the grass kind of shit. Like a human infant is just, without, for all intents and purposes, if they don't have a parent or some guardian next to them, they're just fucked, right? And so that makes us incredibly susceptible. I can swear, right? That makes us incredibly susceptible to the environment and the things that happen around us, right? We're like fucking sponges until the age of 7. Now, you were absorbing everything with no filter to reject any of it. Everything you saw, heard, experienced about money, safety, self-worth, love, and even what is possible for you to achieve got written straight into the back of your mind and your subconscious brain as a fact. Not as an opinion you could question, but as a fact. Everything that happened to you from ages 7 to 18 after that continued to build on what was already there. Rejection, fear, external validation. How many of us built a business to prove somebody else wrong? How many of us do things in our business so that we can show other people that we're doing it?
Can you repeat it, please?
How many, repeat what, sorry?
You have a question.
How many people do things in our business to essentially not flex, but show other people that we're doing it inside of the business? It's not from a place of internal like desire. It's a place of like, yo, I did 200K this month. Nobody in here is doing it for that. You guys are all fucking lying.
Yeah.
Just so you know. You might not think it, but it's true. You spoke up in class, you got it wrong, and everybody laughed. Now the outcome is it is safer for me to stay quiet. You cried and you were told to toughen up. The outcome, my emotions are a problem I need to hide from people. You know, mental health for men is like a big thing, so that's a huge one. Your parents only lit up when you got an A. For all the Asian parents out there. I am loved for what I achieve, not who I am. Anybody else struggle with that? So few of you. Interesting. You were the loud kid until a teacher shamed you for it. Outcome, being fully myself gets me in trouble. Parents said, people like us don't get rich. Outcome, wealth is for other people, not somebody like myself. Does anybody come from money? Does anybody not come from money? Did anybody have their parents tell them that it would be unrealistic for them to make this amount of money? Crazy. So, the program gets installed early. We've established it. But why does it never go away? Why do we continue repeating the same patterns over and over and over again, even if we know what we're doing it? It's called Hebbian learning. In neuroscience, we refer to this more commonly as a phrase, which is neurons that fire together, wire together. Has anybody ever heard that before?
Yep.
Interesting. Super common phrase. Every time the belief fired, and every time you take an action that is associated with this subconscious belief, that emotion gets repeated, and the pathway for it to happen again gets stronger. It gets carved deeper, until it becomes automatic behavior. Something your brain runs without ever asking your permission for actually doing it. This is why you procrastinate. This is why you do things that you know you shouldn't do. This is why you go out even though you have things to do, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, for example, for me, in my relationships, you know, with my girlfriend, for example, I have a huge had a huge pattern of avoidance that I'm still working on removing. When something gets hard and we have to have a difficult conversation, I'll just go work. I don't want to have that hard conversation. I'll just go focus on work. That's what I want to be doing, right? That's an avoidant pattern based on what happened to me when I was younger. And that manifested itself in every single romantic relationship I've ever had. And it will for the rest of my life until I learn that that is the case and understand how to remove it. Right? So, which answers the question you might not have been asking yourself for some time. If I am smart enough to see the patterns, and I know what I'm doing wrong and I know what I need to do, if I've read the books, Atomic Habits, Think and Grow Rich, Outsmarting Reality, 10x is easier than 2x, why the fuck am I still dealing with the same patterns? Why can't I just think my way out of the box and outside of the problem? How many of you have read all these books and kind of like only applied the teachings for like 7 days? A lot of fucking people. And then you told your friends, you're like, yo, I read this book, bro. Yo, Atomic Habits changed my life, bro. And you have all the bad habits that you had before Atomic Habits. Figures. So, what's happening there is there's never been a knowledge problem. You guys all make good money. You guys all make money online. You guys know what the fuck you're doing. You can know that the belief is irrational, and you'd still be fucked. Because the logical thinking lives in one part of your brain, over here. It's called the prefrontal cortex. The program lives somewhere much deeper and significantly older, and it happens back here in the subconscious. I think it's like the amygdala. So, let's talk about the human mind. The human mind consciously is 5% of what is happening to you all the time. When you make a decision inside of your business that's like, okay, let's run this ad versus this ad, 5%, right? That is things like 7 bits of information at a time, rational and reasoning thinking and intellectual thinking, analyzes incoming data. You guys know how many thoughts we have on a daily basis as human beings? 2,000. It's like in and around 6,000. Do you think that you consciously think about 6,000 things every day? Fucking possible, you would overload. So 95% of those 6,000 thoughts are happening back here that you don't even process them. So that 95% are things like feelings and emotions coming from here. Easily overrides the conscious will when emotions are high. You know how you want to be a better man in a relationship, but because there's a lot of tension, you feel like you're just automatically responding in a way that would be either aggressive or maybe even not aggressive. Anybody ever experienced that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's happening in your subconscious. So with deep hypnosis and practice, it is possible that this part of the mind can influence the unconscious. Much more powerful than the conscious. This is where your permanent memory is placed and everything like that. And then it's, like I said earlier on in the presentation, theta brainwave states. So essentially, I'm going to flip the slide again. We're not going to talk about the unconscious mind, but the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are like what mostly is dictating your entire reality. So, while you are consciously trying to grow your business, right? How many of us are trying to grow our business right now? If you're not, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. So, while you are consciously trying to grow your business, you set revenue goals, you read the books, which we just covered, you make the plan on how to scale. 95% of every decision you make is being driven by the operating system underneath. Let that land for a second. 95% of your scaling and of your growth is happening in a part of your brain that you don't control. Isn't that fucking freaky? How much lack of control do I have in what is actually growing my business? Even though you think that you're working 16 hours a day, you're running ads, you're making funnels, you're doing all this bullshit, 95% of it is outside the scope of your control. You have been running a multi-6-figure or 7-figure business on an operating system that was written by a fucking child and the experiences of that child. And every single day since then, every single thing you have experienced has reinforced the thoughts and the operating system of that child. Isn't that fucking stupid? Makes no sense. So what do most people do about it? Oh, they try to think positive. Don't fucking do that. A competitor wins and you feel the tightness in your chest like we talked about before, and so you tell yourself, at least I'm in the same room as these big players. At least I am on the stage. At least I am making this amount of money. A prospect might pick someone else and you frame it as, oh, that's their loss. That's no problem. I'll just get a new one. I'll get a new prospect. Oh, we have a bunch of book calls. Dude, shut the fuck up. It sounds healthy, and it sounds self-aware, and it sounds emotionally mature of you as a business owner to say all these things, yes or no?
Yes.
But you don't actually deep down believe any of that shit. If you took a second to really think about whether or not what you're saying there is conscious, you would realize that it's not. Because it's the same thing as if I got on a sales call and you didn't want to move forward, and I said, okay, listen, have you ever heard of the statement, heavy is the head that wears the crown? And then they're like, oh shit, my whole paradigm just changed, you're right, I gotta take care of my family, bro, oh my God. Do you think that in saying that, you fundamentally changed the paradigm in the internal operating system of that person? Fuck no. That guy is still gonna do the same bullshit that he's been doing that got him there. Now he's just $6,000 more in debt than he was before for a fucking program on how to drop shit. You know what I mean? It's the same shit. You're just giving yourself sales reframes every single time. Oh, so fucked, bro. So, using your 5% to talk over your 95% is like showing up to a war with 5,000 soldiers against an empire with 95,000 soldiers dug in behind their castle walls. You are not going to win that battle with a better fucking positive attitude. Or what is essentially a sales call reframe for yourself. Fucking possible. So, the reason for that is the reframe never changed the belief running underneath it. It just painted over it. Imagine on this wall over here, there was a bunch of mold, right? A fuckload of mold. And so somebody came in and told me, hey Tristan, I want you to remove this mold. Can you fix the problem? I said, yeah, no problem, I got you. And I brought in a bunch of paint, and I just painted like 6 layers over it. 6 reframes. And then I said, okay, my job is done, man, like no problem. He said, oh, it looks amazing. That looks so good. And then a year later, the mold is still fucking there, and it's only gotten worse, right? It's why the same trigger keeps firing for you, and even if you fixed it temporarily, actually, before I get into this, who has reframed something for themselves in their business in the last 12 months? Can anybody give me an example of something they reframed for themselves? Okay, don't be a fucking pussy, guys.
That one of my employees was good enough. I just needed to train him better.
Okay, and then what did you end up doing after that? You got rid of his ass?
Pretty shortly after, yeah.
Fantastic. Right. How long did you waste between actually knowing deep down that he was just garbage?
I knew it that day. I knew it already.
You knew it the day you hired him?
No. The day that first one, I realized, like, okay, wait, he's not fit for this role.
Okay, and you got rid of him immediately?
No. I spent 3 more months with him and
Okay.
realized how much wasted money and time I had with him.
How much, we don't have to like tangibly associate a dollar value, but how much time and money and energetic charge did it take in those 3 months for you to know that he was fucked until you actually fired him as a business owner who is doing well for
A
himself?
lot, because I was also helping with like personal stuff too. So, yeah.
How much energy did that draw from you?
Too much.
Too much. See, there's like a huge energetic cost. Fuck the money. Like obviously you're gonna pay this employee, like whatever. The energetic cost of jumping on calls with someone who is just not an A player, but you keep them on the team because of the fact that you're like, oh, I'm gonna help them out, bro. That is a cancer for your business. So, if you reframe this, it might come down from like some deeply seated, belief. Maybe you were kind of similar to him in the past or something, and you're like you saw something of yourself and you thought like this. But even if you fix something temporarily, when you experience a major emotional intensity coming along again, all of those reframes won't be worth shit, right? If you're running a business, let's say you're making $250,000 a month, and you break up with your girlfriend, right? Now you might reframe it as like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on the business. Okay, fantastic. But a month later, you're gonna feel the sting of missing her. And then all of a sudden, you're gonna go into a 3-month downward spiral that is going to significantly impact your business because you did not understand your emotional state and what was actually going on and what you were actually feeling, right? And now I'm not here to be a fucking therapist, but I'm here to explain to you that these things show up all over your life. If you don't understand this shit, it will control you. That's why the quote at the beginning is so intensive. You're never broken. You're just managing the symptoms of your problems, and you're never going down to the root. It's like if I broke my bone and the doctor was like, man, like painkillers is gonna cure you. It just makes no fucking sense. So, to conclude the lesson, I want you guys to think about these 3 fighters. And now we've talked a lot about the subconscious programming happening inside of your mind, but really what I want to leave you guys with is the power your mind has over you, and once you begin to control it, what it can do for you. All 3 of these people reach the pinnacle of their sport, yes or no? Right?
Yep.
Israel Adesanya, Conor McGregor, John Jones. So Israel Adesanya is quoted on the Diary of a CEO podcast saying everything happens from the imagination, and I can go to levels I just can't even tell the world. The biggest lesson I've learned from martial arts is the power of the mind, John Jones. Okay, this guy's fucking lethal, by the way.
He is.
Yep.
He also, fun fact, in 2011, before he won the heavyweight title, he used to sign gloves as champion 2011. Power of manifestation, not inside the scope of this presentation, but super interesting. And when he was asked why he did that, his response was, it can't hurt you. It can only benefit you. And now, arguably the most, entertaining UFC fighter of all time, people say it's like 90% mental, 10% physical. I just think it's 100% mental. I think everything is an illusion, and that the mind creates everything, or the mind is what creates these things. Also Conor McGregor in an interview. So, all three of these guys reached the pinnacle of their sport. All three of them preach with the utmost conviction and intensity and certainty the power of the mind. And you now understand what has been running you in the background. You understand the implications it has inside of your business and the importance of actually focusing on it. And you understand what can happen based on their results when you prioritize it. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, it's a duplicate slide. The only question left is, are you actually going to finally learn to master? That is the conclusion of my presentation.
Usually have one or two questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, so you said, obviously a lot of the stuff comes in from the subconscious.
Yeah.
Like, what's something that you could say that's like that we could do daily, or like, I don't know, some habit, or like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
what's like an actual solution that we can implement?
An action item?
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to sound corny, but you should journal. But outside the scope of journaling, if you find yourself doing something that you know you don't need to do or don't want to do, right? Let's say, for example, you have 5 ads to put out by Friday,
Yep.
and you wait till the last minute to do it, right? When you are going on the Tuesday to start scripting some of the ads, and you find yourself procrastinating by checking Instagram or doing some other bullshit, ask yourself in that moment why I felt the need to procrastinate. And then if you go deep enough into the questions of why, you always come back to the root of why it happened, right? So to give you an example, when I was telling you guys about the soccer story,
Yep.
so when the guy that coached me hopped on a call with me, I was telling him that I was avoiding like running my own business. I was the COO for a 7-figure coaching business, and I wanted something else. And I had procrastinated on it for God knows how fucking long. And so he asked me why. And I answered, I don't know, like, it's just like a big risk, like it's a little bit scary. He's like, okay, what makes you think it's a big risk? Like, why do you feel like it's a risk? And then we went down the rabbit hole, and down the rabbit hole, and down the rabbit hole, and he kept asking me why. And we eventually led to, when I was 13, I played soccer, and somebody told me this, which made it so that I don't put myself in vulnerable positions to expose myself to risk. That's all. Like,
Yep.
whenever you have a problem, just ask yourself why, and continue to ask yourself.
Great. Thanks.
How did you know that
Yeah.
13-year-old self, that was the trigger point? What was like, yep, that was it?
So remember how I said like your brain has 6,000 thoughts a day? I'm 26 years old, so think about how many things I've experienced and thought of over the course of my life. That is something that I had vivid memory of the entire time. I had just never associated to a pattern of behavior. And so when he essentially asked me verbatim, like, I want you to close your eyes and think back to a moment that made you experience the emotion that you just described. That was it. That's what came to me.
Did you work with Dr. DeMartini?
No,
You know who he is?
I don't. You should let me know who it is after.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, one more.
So I would say when you talk about, I guess, the operating system of subconscious,
Yeah.
how would you recommend like actively changing it other than just reframes? Because you're saying reframes are kind of like temporary like patch up. How would you actually like effectively, consistently be able to switch it so that you're like, does it work with neuroplasticity?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's remember how I said like the more that the heavy in learning, right? The more you're going to do the thing, the more you're going to procrastinate, the more your brain is going to associate that with a desirable behavior. Right? You do the same thing. Like in my program, essentially I take people through 4 phases. So the first one is the seeing. Like you can't fight what you can't see. Right? So if you don't know that it's happening, then you're just fucked. Right? So you want to understand, similar to what I told Boris, like ask yourself why, come to a very vivid conclusion of where it would have come from, parental, the way teachers treated you, whatever, and then you just want to observe it and separate yourself from it. Because right now it's an identity, right? You are just automatically this kind of person. But if you separate yourself from it and you become knowledgeable of like, okay, I'm not that kind of guy, and then you push through it, the more you push through it, the more you reaffirm a new identity that is outside of alignment with those behaviors, neuroplasticity kicks in and you naturally become that person. Yeah. Anybody else? Yep.
having trouble wording this one.
All right.
Okay, so the same
Spit it
way
out.
when you take a risk,
Yeah.
you find success, and you have a win.
Yeah.
Is it dangerous to use that win to affirm, I guess, a change in mindset? Because I feel like that could also go the other way if you like dwell on your negatives. Does that make sense? Is it a band-aid solution to like use your wins as affirmation that you're making these changes?
Absolutely not. I think it's dangerous, right? Because if you're reframing it, and you're not going back into like why I was looking at these other negatives negatively, that's bad, right? But if you're going to understand that, do the work to change it, and then provide your wins as evidence for who you actually are, fantastic, amazing. Like my mentor, the guy who coached me with this before I started doing it for other people, we were speaking like a couple of weeks ago, and he said something super interesting. How many of us like dwell on our failures? We sit in the emotions of what it feels like to like, you know, a webinar goes bad. I know for you, Scott, like, you know, for me also webinars went bad. Like we had launches that just, dude, the amount of energy I put into some of these launches and they flop, and I would just sit and dwell for like days on end about like, yo, like that was fucked. You know, I fucked up. Like that is because I fucked up, that is my operating capacity. But how many of us hit $100,000 a month, whatever revenue benchmark in our business that we want to hit, and sit in the emotion of that, sit in the pleasure of that, really like thrive in the emotion of happiness for what you just achieved? Most of us move on immediately because there's a new goalpost, right? We won't get into like reality creation and all that stuff, but like reality is emotional. You guys here, as I'm speaking to you, are all experiencing emotion, right? And so if we hit $100,000 a month and you're chasing an emotion because of that, sit in that fucking emotion. You worked so fucking hard for it. What's the point otherwise? Answer your question? Yeah? Please.
The last one.
Yeah, last one.
I think you kind of went over this, but you said something about like your chest tightening. Where do you think that stems from? Oh, like for like any person.
What do you mean by that?
Like when you see like a competitor do something better,
Yeah.
and you just get like your chest tightens. I think I've felt that before.
Yeah.
Where do you think that stems from?
Like physiologically, or do you mean like where it comes from, like in your mind?
Where it comes from your mind.
Oh, lack of self-love.
Okay.
Right? If you are 100% internally convicted and had 100 million% internal self-belief in the product that you were selling, then why would somebody else's success ever create any sort of emotion inside of you? It has nothing to do with you, right? There's enough food for everybody to eat. No, the info space is, I don't know what you do, but the info space is grotesquely massive. So, can I say one more thing? I was listening to a podcast on the way up here. Anybody know who Herbie Cohen is? Anyway, he's from the 70s and 80s. He was like all over magazines and shit, master negotiator, right? He's friends with Larry King, the guy who runs the show. Anybody know Larry King? Amazing. So they're a band of friends. He wrote a book in 8 months and went on a road trip, took his kids out of school for the sole purpose of reading the book to his kids, right? And at the end of the book, after he had finished, he wrote something down along the lines of, I believe this is very good. I actually believe this is great. Now he went to go publish the book, and 18 publishing companies rejected him. But in the book he had written, I only decide on the truth once. So as he had read through the book himself with his kids, he had decided that the book was great. And so when he was rejected 18 times by publishing companies, those rejections did not change his perception of his book. They changed his perception of the publishing companies. And then a 19th publishing company published the book, and it sold over 1 million copies, right? So if you have so much internal self-belief, you just need to decide on the truth and the quality of your product one time. It doesn't matter what other people say. Only what's in here, and then ultimately what's in you. That's all.
Sit, Mike.
I had one last question. Am I able to ask it? Or is it too late? If it is, I can ask it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I have this thing where I'm very uncertain about the future, usually, right? And I hear a lot of people tell me it's like you gotta live in the present more, but I'm just always thinking about the future, but at the same time I don't know what to expect. And I feel like that's stemming from past experience I've had where the future just didn't go out too well.
Yeah.
So where do you kind of feel like that would stem from, and like what would be a solution to that?
where it stems from for you, I have no idea. We'd have to have like a 60-minute conversation to figure that
Okay.
out. But what I would do is, try to practice more presence, right? The easier said than done, and I can give you some strategies after this that would help you with that. But the future is nothing but your imagination. The past is your memory, the present is the present, and the future is imagination. So just because of what happened in the past, which is likely dictating what you think is going to happen in the future, you're stressed about the potential outcome that would occur. I don't know what that would look like for you. But you just need to tell yourself a more positive story. The likelihood is you're telling yourself a bunch of negative stories about what could happen, instead of looking at what could happen from a positive way. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Alrighty, thank you guys.
Alrighty, guys.